Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Year 11 revision evening. My name's Mrs. Gould and I'm Deputy Head Teacher here at St Peter's. I also work closely with Year 11 with Mr Greaves as their Year Leader. So just a little bit about the format for this evening. So I'm going to be talking you through the spring assessments that are coming up, the summer exams for 2022, things that are different for this particular academic year, and also general revision information. We've also got some talks from our core subject leaders, so Mrs Nichols, our Head of English, Mr Yosick, our Head of Maths, Mr Herford for RE and Mrs Hudson for Science. These are recorded presentations and the link will be shared later on in this evening's presentation, so you can watch those through at your own speed. Now, information is something that you're going to be getting a lot of at the moment, and Year 11s certainly are being given lots and lots of different documents and different pieces of information. So throughout the course of this evening, I will refer to this document. So we have pulled together, I should say Mr Greaves has pulled together, all of the information about the different GCSE support sessions, revision information for all of the subjects that your son or daughter studies here at St Peter's. This document will be sent out to you following tonight's presentation so that you can see what sessions are on and how they go about accessing additional support. Some subjects are doing sort of regular whole year group revision sessions and others have slightly more bespoke sessions that focus on particular topics. So it really is worth looking through this document. In addition, we've recently sent out the timetable for the spring assessments, which I'll talk about more in a bit more detail shortly. And also your son or daughter will have been given their individual timetable for the spring assessments. This is similar to the one they'll receive for the actual exams in the summer, but obviously has the March assessments on there. Something that is worth just double checking is the information where it says name on certificates. This is the name that will be on your son or daughter's GCSE certificates when they're issued in August. It's incredibly difficult and expensive to get any changes to that name, so please make sure that what's on their spring assessment timetables is accurate. We can easily change that now, and it means the GCSE certificates will be correct. Likewise with special arrangements, so exam access arrangements, that should also be listed on their spring assessment timetable. If you have any query about what it says there, please do contact Mrs Haskell, our exams officer. Her email address will be shared later in this presentation too. So I've written to you about the spring assessments before and I've referred to them in a previous evening that we held for Year 11. But just to say a little bit more about those. So these will be taking place in March and we're starting them on Monday the 7th, and they take roughly a week and a half to go through all the different assessments that we have. There are assessments we would have been doing anyway, which I know I've mentioned previously before, but because of additional requirements placed upon schools this year, we're running them the same way as the mock exams that we had in November. Normally these assessments would just be done in the classroom roughly around the same time, but we're just formalising them a little bit more this year. This helps meet the requirements that if we are required to produce a teacher assessed grade, that we can use this as evidence because it would need to be an invigilated assessment and follow the usual exam protocols really. It also makes sure that your son or daughter has access arrangements in place if they are eligible for those. More importantly, they give information. So they will give information to your child's teacher about what are they good at, what areas do they still need to revise and to focus on. And as we move towards the summer exams, this will be really important because it helps focus their revision. It will also allow teachers to update predicted grades, which again will be shared with you following the Easter holiday, so you can see and your child can see whether they are on track to achieve the grades that they are hoping for. Now on to the main event, if you like, the summer exams. So at this moment in time, even though I've referred to teacher assessed grades, that very much is a just in case scenario. At this point in time, there is absolutely every intention exams will be happening in the summer. And so that's what we are planning for. And I think as things progress, it's looking more and more likely that that is definitely the case. So the exams this summer will be starting on Monday, the 16th of May. That's the usual sort of time they start. It's always around the middle of May. And the final day is the 29th of June. Now, you'll notice a little asterisk there, and the reason that I've flagged that up is because if you look on the summer timetable, and I'll show you where that summer timetable is shortly in this presentation, but if you look on the summer timetable, you might see that for your child, their last exam looks to be on, say, the 23rd of June. However, I must urge and I must really make clear that the 29th of June is the final day exams could happen. It's the contingency day, so please don't book holidays or any time away until the 29th of June has passed. If for any reason we're unable to hold an exam on a different day because of an extreme event, that contingency day could be used instead. So if you've got anything booked and we need to use it, that will be beyond our control, and you'll end up either missing a holiday or a student will miss an exam. Results day is Thursday the 25th of August, and results will be collected that morning. We'll confirm the times nearer the date, but usually it's around about 9 AM in the morning. And hopefully we'll see lots of happy smiley faces on that day. Now, there are some things that are different to this academic year. So in addition to the fact that exams for certain subjects are more spaced out, so English, maths and science, as the sort of larger exams for whole year groups, they've spaced out the individual papers for those within the exam window, so between the 16th and 29th of June, much more than they normally would. That's to help students with revision so that they're not having to cram for the entire course and then just a few of their option subjects towards the end. It's kind of broken up a little bit more. In addition, some subjects have optionality for their exams, so history being an example of this. Geography have some optionality about what they teach. This is already known, and subject teachers will have already tailored what they are doing with the students in lessons as a result of this. Formula sheets are available for maths and for physics, so normally students would have to learn these off by heart, but in the light of obviously a lot of disruption last year, and for some students a bit of ongoing disruption this year, the exam boards and Ofqual have recognised that actually they could be given those formula sheets and apply what they know, and that can be assessed. These will already have been shared through maths and physics or science lessons, but they're also available on our school website and on Teams as well, should you need a copy that you can print. I'll show you soon where they are on the school website, along with lots of other information so that you can access that as and when you need it. There's also something called Advanced Information, which was published on the 7th of February and that we've been working on putting together for you. So this is information about what will be covered in individual subjects. Now, it's not for absolutely every GCSE. For example, it doesn't cover English literature. A concession has already been made there by not having to cover the unseen poetry element. But for English language, there are specific elements that have been identified that will be covered, and as well as for science, for maths, for RE and so on. We have started pulling these all together. I had hoped to put them all into one booklet, but there is a lot of pages once we pull them all together. So they're in the process of being uploaded onto our school website. Again, I'll show you where that is within the presentation, so that you've basically just got a one-stop shop with all of the exams information in there. They are specific to different exam boards, so it will save you having to work through different exam board websites, find which specification it is and so on. It will make sure that on the school website there'll be the business studies one, the English one, the one for GCSE PE and so on and so on, and you can just then download the individual ones that you need. These are already being shared in class with students, and teachers are going through, because the lists on their own are useful, but they're much more useful when they're worked through in class, and certainly the revision sessions and what is being taught between now and the summer exams, that's all being adapted to take into account this information by teachers at the moment. So this information covers what will, and in some cases what will not be covered in the exams. As I've mentioned earlier, it's put in place to support students because of ongoing COVID disruption over the last year and a half. And there's a document for each individual subject, for each exam board, but we've obviously just picked out the relevant ones for you. This is where you can find it. So there is a link on the bottom of this presentation. Obviously, please don't worry about copying this down now. I will send out this presentation as a PDF so you can click on that link as well. But it's on the school website under the secondary examinations page. And if you scroll down, there's a whole bunch of information there, but there'll be a section on advanced information which should be published within the next couple of days. As I said, there is a lot of other useful information on there. So you will also find on there the GCSE candidate booklet. This has lots of advice and guidance and has been put together by our exams officer, Mrs. Haskell. So it's really good to have a read through. It covers things like regulations about exams and so on. I will email a copy of that as well with the other information for this evening following this presentation. So you can have a copy of that, but you can always download another copy from the website if you need. Also on that page is the overall summer timetable for 2022, so you can see when individual exams are scheduled to be. There's the general rule for examinations, so covering things like, for example, students obviously cannot bring mobile phones into exams, but also you can no longer wear a watch into an exam because of smartwatches. So it's just a useful thing to run through. We've already run through that with your child during the mock exams in November, and we'll reinforce that again in the spring assessments so that it'll be second nature to them by the summer. Another really important document is the JCQ information for students. So that section has information in there about non-exam assessments, or as it used to be called, coursework, and just things that students can and cannot do. So again, worth having a look through. So the other part of this evening is really talking about what you can do to help support your son and daughter. And I know certainly from the few years that I've worked here as a group of parents, we're incredibly lucky because you are so supportive. And we're all trying to make sure that they get, the best that they can out of these summer exams. So revision timetables. I know there are many students who are already far more organised than I think I ever was, and they have revision timetables and are working through it. But some do struggle with putting a revision timetable together. So if that is the case, just help them write that timetable and put it somewhere visible so that they can actually tick off what they're doing and how they're getting on without having to keep asking them. If you've got a son or daughter who is maybe struggling to get started, just keep it simple. Start with a few things. Once they start ticking things off, that momentum will hopefully build. Making a revision space at home is also really important. Otherwise, there can be an awful lot of faff in setting up somewhere to work and then packing it away again, rather than just being able to sit down, do a good solid 25 minutes, and then have a little break. Space can be at a bit of a premium in a lot of households, so it's just trying to find somewhere that they can work and leave their revision materials and then come back to easily, if at all possible. And I think probably the one that I will hear howls from year 11 up and down the land, their mobile phones. I have to say, if I had a mobile phone when I was doing my exams, I'm not sure how well I would have concentrated, and they ping away and buzz and put alerts up every 5 seconds. So maybe say to them, pop the phone in the drawer, or just over there on the worktop, you go do half an hour. When you have a break, come and check it then. So it's kind of their reward and their little break away from revision in between. It's really easy sometimes to just get sidetracked down a bit of a rabbit hole. And there's lots of good stuff on the internet when it comes to revision, but YouTube can easily turn from a revision video on a particular topic into looking at something that's just amusing and interesting. So it is a good idea to just put that away. In terms of revision strategies, the best revision strategies are the top two here in green. So practicing, but spread out over a longer period of time. So starting that revision now, if not already started, and just doing a little bit for each subject over that long period of time. The opposite of cramming the night before the exam. So spreading that out. Also practice testing. So checking what it is you actually know. Flashcards are good, past papers are better, and just making sure that actually you are checking what it is that you know. If your son or daughter uses flashcards, then obviously that's a nice way that you can support them by asking the questions, though they can do it individually by just looking at them and thinking if they know the answer. For the ones they actually seem to know quite well, keep them in there. It takes, at least 3 times of going through something for it to be embedded in your brain. It can even take longer. And even if the ones that they already know, they just come back to every so often, so less often than the more tricky topics, it's just keeping it live in their brain. That's really important. Other things that are effective, but just not as effective as the top 2. So explaining to somebody how they did a particular maths problem, for example, or worked out something in science, switching between different kinds of problems for interleaved practice, and being able to explain a point of view or a fact, for example, say in a history essay, so that elaborative interrogation. So useful, as long as they are topped up with testing every so often as well. The ones that I probably see more often, certainly when people are revising away at lunchtimes, and I do see year 11, bless them, stuck away in little corners, revising away at lunchtimes, but coming up with keyword mnemonics, or a lot of highlighting. Now, I'm not saying highlighting is a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the only thing you do. And it's really important, if you are highlighting or underlining, just picking out the absolute key things. Otherwise, it can just look a very beautiful piece of revision, but it's not necessarily that useful. Now, I won't show this video to you, but again, this link will be on the copy of this presentation that I sent out. But a useful technique for revision is known as the Pomodoro technique. So it's that idea of taking a chunk of revision, not seeing it as I need to sit at my desk for 3 hours solidly working through something, but it's breaking it up into small chunks with very short breaks in between. And it's been proven to be a much more effective way of revision and helping people to learn and actually secure that knowledge in their brain than just sitting down for hours and hours on end. So really worth a watch. It's a really short video. So yeah, do watch that after this if you can. Some other useful links for parents that I hope will be of help. So BBC Bite Size, in addition to all their revision resources, they do have a good section on helping your child with revision. That's worth looking at. If your child needs to look at actually putting together a revision timetable, there are others, but Get Revising is one example of a free revision planner that they can access, and it will then help them put together that into a grid. There's also revision myths busted there. So quite often students say, oh, I once heard of somebody, they didn't need to revise for this exam. So just some little myths there, and it talks through why those things are not necessarily true. Likewise, why highlighting, just constantly highlighting big bulks of text isn't the best way of revision. So worth a read, just might be some interesting facts there. And the bottom link there is a parent's guide to GCSEs. It's quite a comprehensive guide there with different sections in. It has been put together by a company that specialises in providing tutoring, so I'll put that caveat out there. But it was produced in conjunction with the NSPCC and various exam boards and other organisations, and it does have a lot of useful information there about supporting your child with stress and that sort of thing. Past papers as well. I mean, I do see lots and lots of year 11s with past papers that they're working through in their spare time. So these are the different links for the different exam boards. And once you go to these particular links, you can then choose GCSE and the relevant subject. So those are those for AQA, for Pearson and for OCR. Most subjects will also have these on teams, either within class teams or within whole subject teams, as well as any copies that are being given out as part of ongoing revision and home learning for students. In terms of additional support, so the document that I mentioned right at the beginning of the presentation that I'll send out shortly, it details all of these support sessions that are running now and continue after half term, so that if your child is finding a particular area of a topic difficult, or there's a particular subject that they feel they need more support with, that would be a really good place to start. Science, for example, operates sessions where if somebody goes with a question, with a particular topic, they can go sit down with the teacher and say, talk me through respiration, or whatever that particular topic might be. There's also departmental resources on Teams, and it's not just past papers, but various revision guides and lesson materials and so on. That should all be there so students can access those. I do have a couple of documents from Maths and from RE that I'll also send out with the email following this presentation that have some additional information in there. I've also mentioned the GCSE Candidate Handbook. Again, really useful, so have a look through there. It details some of the additional information and support needed. So as I mentioned as well, once I've finished talking to you, which will be soon, there are also some recorded presentations from the subject leaders of our core subjects that are listed there. So these will be on our school YouTube channel, and the link is there below. Again, I'll email the link out. Those you can watch then at your own time, your own pace, and it goes through specifically for each of those subjects. What are the topics to focus on? What are the key areas to focus on? What can you do to help support in maths or in science and so on? So really useful to actually watch through. After half term, there will be some other updates, some other information coming through your way. It is unfortunately a time for giving you lots and lots of information. One of these documents will be the statements of entry. So this will detail exactly what your child has been entered for their exams. Again, please check the name and access arrangement information on that document. The summer exam timetable, but the personalised copy for your child will also be issued. And if there are any additional revision sessions, so that's extra to the ones that are already running, sort of closer to the summer exams, that will be shared nearer the time. So whether that's sort of breakfast sessions, that sort of thing. Mrs. Haskell, our exams manager, is the person to get in contact with should you have any queries about exams themselves, and her address there, her email address is there at the bottom. And then coming towards the end, exams has been the main focus of this particular talk, but obviously I'm sure your sons and daughters are really looking forward to what comes after exams, so that fantastic summer ahead of them. Information is going to be coming out soon about the more celebratory part of the end of year 11. So Mr. Greaves will be sending home a letter shortly about the yearbook, about hoodies and about prom, which would be lovely to have because it's been a while since we've been able to have one. You'll get a paper copy of that letter after half term, and assuming school is open tomorrow, we'll do the paper copy tomorrow, but if not, we'll send an electronic copy tomorrow and then a paper copy after half term. A letter went home today about the National Citizenship Service and the opportunities that they are offering over the summer, so please do read through that if you haven't had a chance to see it yet. And we've got an assembly about that after half term to talk through with year 11s about that particular opportunity. It's a fantastic thing if they can get involved with that, so I do really recommend it. As well as that ongoing, we have information and guidance on next steps, so continuing guidance about sixth form applications, careers advice and so on. But if you feel that your child needs more of that, please do get in touch with either Mr. Greaves or Mr. Downs, our careers advisor. It will continue, but if there's anything additional you need in the meantime, please do get in contact. And then finally, if you have any questions, then please do get in contact. We are here to support and here to help. And the various email addresses that you need are there. So Mr. Greaves, the year leader, myself, exams manager, Senko. And if there are any subject leaders that you need to get in contact with, the info@ email address will then forward that on to that particular subject leader. I hope that's been useful, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much for joining this evening, and take care. Many thanks.